First off, I just wanted to say how great it is to get to be in community today with all of you on International Day of Persons with Disabilities. For better or worse, part of being a member of the disability community and the disabled community means that you end up seeing people you admire become disabled ancestors. That is something I have learned from Alice and so many others, that the people you come to admire the most, that life is just unfair in that way. So Alice should still be here first and foremost. But beyond that, I want to talk about what we can learn from Alice today and beyond too. That Alice was an activist. She believed in causing good trouble. That whether it was her activism through telling other people's stories and uplifting our voices, which is something she did early in my career as well. I was introduced to Alice from a colleague that I met on Twitter, actually. And this colleague was at the time a PhD student. And we were talking about how frustrated we were because there was an opinion article in USA Today, this was back in 2019, saying that the ADA was bad law. And for those of you in the United States, that's the Americans with Disabilities Act. And essentially, this person was arguing that it's not a good enforcement mechanism and all sorts of other things. And my friend and colleague at the time said, we should write about this. And the best place to do that is with Alice Wong and the Disability Visibility Project. I remember thinking that was interesting and I wasn't quite sure. With just a quick introduction, Alice immediately told us to write what we were feeling, our frustration, our rage, our hope for change, and what we can do better instead. And realizing that things like the ADA are the floor and not the ceiling, and that sometimes you have to do more than just follow the letter of the law, which, of course, as a lawyer, is often my job to say that the letter of the law is the letter of the law. But sometimes you can't make change without realizing that there are places that the law also falls short. And Alice did such a good job at giving and making space for others that there is no singular disability experience. Not any of us here in the neurodivergent community or the broader disabled community can speak on behalf of others, nor should we be the spokespeople for someone else. That is something that I have learned over and over from Alice, who continually used her platform to give the mic to other people, primarily those who were most marginalized within the disability community, whether it is by identity, place you are in the world, whatever it may be. Alice really did an amazing job of that. And the Disability Visibility book, when that came out, really highlighted that was what Alice did best. She didn't use that book to talk about herself. I learned from other people, so many others, voices that I had seen before but didn't know much about, and voices that were completely new. That was something I treasure, is realizing how when we build community and uplift each other, it really does give a more robust community, a stronger disability rights and disability justice movement. So that is something that I hope we think about. At the beginning of today, Margot mentioned the trees sticking together as climate gets harsh. Alice would have embodied that and still does and lives on through all of us with that. So I hope that we continue to learn to really stick together and realize we have more in common than what separates us, even as the world somehow likes to pit us against each other in some way, shape, or form. That is what I hope to really leave us with when we talk about Alice, and that we continue to honor her memory. The disabled joy, frustration, love, rage, grief, that we let ourselves feel all the feelings. And there's one other big thing in one of Alice's many projects and advocacy efforts that I've learned. It wasn't necessarily from one project in particular that really stuck with me, whether it was her advocacy for Gaza, for COVID, long COVID in particular, she was very big on that, or uplifting other people's voices. But there was one project that I think of where she collaborated with two others on this idea of access is love. That thinking of accessibility is not just the responsibility of one person or a committed group, but all of ours collectively, to show that we care. That's something that I hope we take forward too, that community care is real care, and that we continue to care for each other and uplift each other wherever we have the opportunity to do so. And that is the note that I would like us to really go through the rest of the day on. And I thank you, Margot, for letting me say a couple of things, and hope that we can continue to celebrate today while also honoring our disabled ancestors and realizing how much work there is still to be done. And that time is such a finite resource, but we can continue to make the most of it, to make things better, not just for ourselves, but for everybody in the disabled community across the globe.